My name's Adam Jamieson and I work for East Yorkshire Place Partner, which was formerly Active Humber. And my role is the engagement officer for the team. Basically, it's working really on the ground with the community and with the partners and trying to help people be active, work together in partnership, alongside a lot of collaboration.
My name's Jen and I also work for East Yorkshire Place Partner as one of the engagement officers as well. I'm working with the local schools, local community groups, trying to bring everyone together as well.
Well, hello, my name's David Gent. I'm the CEO of Active Humber and I've had the absolute pleasure of working with Active Humber and then the East Yorkshire Place Partner on this whole work. So how many times have you done the maturity matrix?
I'd say we've done it probably about 3 or 4 times now. And everyone's been different, to be honest. I think if we look back to the first matrix that we did, felt like very complex, off the cuff, didn't really understand what we were necessarily doing it for. Quite complicated piece of work, and just trying to understand that really. And I think through the journey, we're working from the start and sort of learning what we're doing the matrix for and how we can use that as a bit more of a tool was quite beneficial.
I think also with the first session was very much, it just landed in our inbox of you are going to do this, which was very when we opened it up, we were like, what on earth is this? Because we're more sort of operational on the ground. It was very daunting.
Well, that sounds fascinating. So how did you approach that? Because that's sort of a big challenge to take something that appears to be complex and do that. And so how did you approach that first engaging people in the process?
For me, I opened the email, shut it, and didn't see it until I went to the first meeting because I was like, I'll just confuse myself because I'd be telling myself a certain way, which probably was wrong because I'd not seen it before. So until we had that first meeting where we all came together as a team, it was very much, we decided we'd try and tackle all of them in one session. Completely the wrong way to do it. Purely because by the time you finished, you are that exhausted, you just didn't want to ever do it again. So I would suggest sort of making sure you do it in sections, take that time, and just sort of go through it step by step and stage by stage, really.
Yeah, I think I had a similar experience, to be honest. Just looking at sort of a massive jumble of letters and scoring and words and just this massive document and sort of not having really the time in my work capacity to really digest it. But then coming as a team together and all sharing that same experience, even though the first one was, I'd say, maybe more of a negative experience, but actually sharing that and then deciding as a collective of what we can do to change to make the most out of this situation. So really moving forward, we're sort of suggesting different ideas of how to get the most out of this tool. And just sending it and sort of revising what you're going to say, jot down a few examples of where you sort of see the project going is really beneficial.
I think also take into account people's learning styles and how they sort of accept what's coming into them inboxes. So the way me and Adam work is very different and the way we perceive the information is very different. So the way we've sort of now starting to take those steps meets both our needs as well.
So the review of the first one, bit scary, bit frightening, but go for it. And anything particularly you'd say that if you have to do it again now, it was your first time, you'd say to other people, yeah, do that? Is it something like, say, don't try and do the whole matrix all at one go? What would be your advice for people doing this for the first time?
I think that's definitely a key point. Yeah, don't try and do it all at once. It can be a tiring process. But I also think just pre-read it. If there's a bit of time to just sort of understand a little bit of it, there's teams out there that can help you as well if you need a bit more understanding. And then just don't be scared to just give it a go. Even if it is just maybe 1 or 2 examples, just give it a go, see what it feels like, and then just go from there.
Yeah, I think also use the NELP explainers sheets, the help sheets out there for you, because that really does help you break down each question.
Thinking back to the second time, and it might be blurred with the third time actually, but just breaking it down a little bit more and having that bit more understanding of what we're going to use it for, and that it is a tool to help you really in the place. And what looking at it before we come as a collective and a team and sort of like debate it, 'cause it can be a bit of a debate, but having your example sort of prepped and ready and trying to get the best out of it, it's sort of like the more you put into it, the more you can get out. So
yeah, and I think one thing to remember is it's not there to sort of mark you on your performance. It's there to also highlight as well, and it can give you that direction of where you sort of need to go within your work streams moving forward. And also, when you are doing it, sort of the first time we did do it, we was looking at sort of the 4 and the 5 numbers, forget the numbers altogether, and just look at the sort of the wording of the questions. And because what we did find that second time was, because we understood the questions a lot more, we broke it down, we was scoring lower, but that's actually where we was at. So yeah, I would definitely take away the numbers and look at.
So going back to the very first time, bit few challenges, etc. Look at the last time you've done it. What's been the significant changes on that journey from first to most current?
I would say we've now got the explainers. We've now done it a couple of times, and we're now on, I feel, the right path in terms of the work that we're doing with the community. The examples that we can give hit directly to, rather than being quite wishy-washy. We can give them a direct answer, an example to each sort of a condition.
yeah, it's the same with most things. Once you start practicing something, it sort of does become a little bit easier. And I think as a team and developing that has been really beneficial for us, because we're not frightened to sort of have that debate and sort of not necessarily argue it out, but bringing those points forward and sort of just trying to get the best out of it, and not being scared to maybe mark us lower on that scoreboard if needs be, because then that sort of gives us the vision to where to improve and where that community needs to be in the future.
So it feels like me there's a greater level of confidence both in yourselves and in the community to that. So why do you think that's changed over the matrix, over those times you've done it, that you've gone from that perhaps feeling uncomfortable to a much better period of, wow, this is really beginning to help me?
I think we've also tackled it different, but I also think the change that NELP have also taken on board in terms of they've changed some of the questions, incorporated maybe a little bit more, taken on board what's been said by other pilots, has then enhanced what we can deliver in terms of the examples.
Well, that sounds really interesting, that this isn't like you just do it this way. It's actually evolving as you're going through the process. So what are perhaps some of those changes that you fed back to the process nationally that would help you do better? Because that's a proper evolving learning model of not just in the, but also affecting others across the system.
So we're quite lucky within our team. We do have an evaluation team that sits within East Yorkshire Place Partner, and we feed things back into them, and they then take it back to the wider NELP. And what we found is other pilots, I believe, have also done the same, and which has then made them think, for example, if certain things don't fit within that question, or it's maybe worded differently to how we would perceive what we're doing as a role, it then gets fed back in and has been changed.
Yeah, I think just to add to that as well, really, it's sort of made evaluation sort of our business as well, and making sure that we're following this tool that sort of leading us in the right direction. Really, what we're missing, we tend to think maybe like collaboration really strong, and then we're looking sort of at that next step, and it sort of gives you that little bit of guidance. Yeah,
definitely. We've, at the very first part of the pilot in 2018, when we first started, we didn't have this. And evaluation, I wouldn't say it was really part of my role until sort of maybe after COVID, really. That's when we started to bring in more into our operational side. And it definitely helps us and gives us direction and benefits the community more, because we've got to think of it as well.
That's great. It's real positive change in the way that we're behaving and acting. So finally, I think people perhaps at times get a bit transfixed. Is it a 4? Is it a 5? Is it a 3? What advice would you give to people about thinking about the scoring system and thinking about what the matrix says without getting overly transfixed with the ratings?
Yeah, I mean, through our team, what we do now is more like read the paragraphs, read the words, and sort of have that gut feeling as well of where you think that's going to be, and have that open discussion with the rest of your team. And don't be scared at looking at that and marking yourself lower. But necessarily the scores don't really matter as much as you think they do. So it's just more like room for improvement, and sort of just keep it as real as you can.
I also think you could also have 8 or 9 examples which you think are brilliant, right? That makes it a 5. But are they actually really rich in what the examples that you're given? So I would say the more the examples have got that richness and that impact, then that's sort of where it makes that tip between the 4 and the 5, or 1 and a 2 really.
So last question, looking to the future now, because this is all going to be very much absolutely vital part of where we're going. What do you think more that we need to do to embed this into the way that we work?
I think keep developing what we're doing now, but also bringing in like the wider community and the partners we're working with, and sort of spread that understanding. Now we've got a bit of an understanding around it. Sort of bring the community along with us. It might need reformatting a little bit in the language, but I think it's quite a positive future of developing it further. Yeah,
it's definitely interesting in terms of where we as operational, and then also maybe those questions at the senior leaders of where would they see to where we would see. So I think that's something, the different levels of stages across the organisations definitely needs to be taken into account, because this matrix will highlight to those senior leaders actually what is going on, what the change is, whereas they might not see it before.
Well, thanks for your open honesty. That's super informative. So thank you very much.
Thank you.